Descanso Profundo a las 3 a.m. Alguna vez te has despertado justo a esa hora, con la mente llena de pensamientos y el corazón inquieto. No es casualidad. La ciencia del sueño y la experiencia espiritual coinciden en algo poderoso. Las 3 de la mañana son un punto clave donde el cuerpo, la mente y el alma se encuentran más vulnerables, pero también más abiertos a la sanidad. Bienvenido a Harrigan Paz, un espacio donde animos bienestar, fe y conocimiento para ayudarte a vivir con más equilibrio, descanso y propósito. Hoy vamos a hablar de cómo una oración profunda a las 3 a.m. puede ayudarte a dormir en paz y sanar el alma hoy mismo. Quedad hasta el final, porque esto puede cambiar la forma en que descansas cada noche. When a person wakes up repeatedly around 3 in the morning, it often feels mysterious, even alarming. Many assume it is simply stress or a random sleep disturbance, but the reality is deeper and more meaningful. At this hour, the body naturally moves through a lighter phase of sleep. Brain activity changes, hormones shift, and the nervous system becomes more sensitive. Cortisol, the hormone linked to alertness and stress, may rise slightly, especially in people who carry emotional or mental burdens during the day. This does not mean something is wrong. It means the body is communicating. It is signaling that there is unprocessed tension, worry, or fatigue that needs attention. Rather than resisting the awakening or becoming frustrated, understanding it as a message can change everything. The body is not betraying you. It is inviting you to pause, listen, and respond with care. When this moment is met with calm awareness instead of fear, the nervous system begins to settle, making it easier to return to rest. Many people who experience these awakenings are those who give much of themselves to others. They manage responsibilities, support family, carry expectations, and push through exhaustion without acknowledging their own needs. At night, when external demands finally fade, the body creates space for what was ignored. The awakening becomes a mirror reflecting what has been held inside. This is why responding with gentleness matters. Slow breathing, relaxed posture, and kind self-awareness help the brain interpret the moment as safe rather than threatening. When safety is felt, the stress response eases, the heart rate slows, muscles soften. The mind becomes less reactive. This simple shift from resistance to acceptance can be the first step toward deeper rest and emotional balance. Silence plays a powerful role during these early morning hours. During the day, noise, conversations, screens, and tasks constantly compete for attention. At night, especially around 3 in the morning, those distractions disappear. The mind no longer has external input to focus on, so internal thoughts and emotions grow louder. This is why worries, regrets, and unanswered questions often surface at this time. It can feel overwhelming, but it is also an opportunity. In silence, the mind reveals what truly matters. Emotions that were suppressed during the day finally ask to be acknowledged. This does not happen to punish you, it happens to heal you. In this quiet space, the direction of attention becomes crucial. When the mind spirals into fear or rumination, the silence feels heavy and uncomfortable. But when that same silence is used intentionally, it becomes calming and restorative, turning the inner dialogue toward prayer, reflection, or mindful awareness changes how the brain processes the moment. Instead of feeding anxiety, the mind begins to organize and release tension. Research shows that focused, calming mental practices reduce activity in the brain areas associated with worry. At the same time, areas linked to emotional regulation and peace become more active. This is why intentional prayer or reflective thought at this hour can feel unusually deep and effective. Many people notice that when they speak honestly in these moments, expressing concerns, gratitude, or hope, a sense of relief follows. This is not imagination. It is the nervous system responding to emotional expression and perceived support. Feeling heard, even in stillness, reduces loneliness and stress. The body responds by easing its grip on tension. Breathing deepens naturally. The mind becomes less crowded. This is the gateway back to sleep, not through force, but through connection and release. Understanding these awakenings through both a physical and emotional lens transforms them from an enemy into an ally. Instead of asking why this is happening to me, the question becomes, what is my body and heart trying to tell me? That shift alone reduces fear. When fear decreases, rest becomes possible. Over time, responding calmly and intentionally teaches the brain that the night is safe. The awakenings often become shorter, less intense, or disappear altogether. What once felt like a disruption becomes a doorway to self-awareness, peace, and healing rest. When a person begins to pray or enter a focused spiritual moment during the early morning hours, something remarkable happens inside the body. This is not only a matter of belief, it is also a biological response. Prayer slows the breathing pattern and steadies the heart rate. As attention turns away from racing thoughts and toward trust and surrender, the brain receives a signal of safety. The nervous system shifts out of survival mode and into a state of rest. Stress chemicals decrease while calming neurotransmitters increase. This is why prayer often feels like a gentle wave washing over the mind. It is the body responding to reassurance. Instead of staying alert and tense, the system understands that it is allowed to relax. Scientific studies on contemplative practices show that focused prayer reduces activity in the parts of the brain associated with fear and hypervigilance. At the same time, regions linked to emotional balance become more active. This explains why people who pray consistently during moments of nighttime wakefulness often fall back asleep more easily. They are not forcing sleep. They are creating the internal conditions where sleep naturally returns. The mind stops scanning for danger. Muscles release their grip. Thoughts slow down. Prayer becomes a bridge between awareness and rest, guiding the body back into harmony. Alongside this calming effect, prayer also restores a sense of connection. Many nighttime awakenings are fueled by feelings of isolation. In the quiet hours, problems feel bigger and the mind feels alone with its worries. Prayer shifts that experience. It replaces isolation with presence. When a person speaks words of faith, hope, or gratitude, the brain interprets this as relational safety. Feeling supported, even spiritually, has measurable effects on stress reduction. This sense of connection is deeply healing. It reassures the mind that it does not have to carry everything alone, allowing emotional tension to dissolve. Letting go of control is another powerful aspect of this moment. Many people lie awake because they are mentally trying to fix their lives while their bodies are begging for rest. Prayer interrupts this cycle. It invites surrender. Surrender is not weakness. It is a deliberate release of what cannot be solved in the moment. When the mind stops wrestling with outcomes, energy is conserved and peace begins to surface. This release creates mental space where calm can grow. People who practice surrender during nighttime prayer often describe a noticeable softening in their bodies. Shoulders drop, jaw tension eases, breathing becomes deeper without effort. These physical changes are signs that the body is entering a restorative state. The brain recognizes that there is no immediate threat requiring action. This allows the parasympathetic nervous system to take over, supporting healing and deep rest. Sleep that follows surrender tends to be more refreshing because it is not layered with unresolved tension. Emotionally, surrender through prayer brings relief. Many worries are rooted in the need to control outcomes or protect oneself from uncertainty. When those worries are handed over, the emotional weight lifts. This does not mean problems disappear, but their power diminishes. The mind gains perspective. Peace replaces urgency. Over time, this practice retrains the brain to associate nighttime with trust instead of fear. The bed becomes a place of restoration rather than rumination. As this pattern continues, the quality of sleep improves. The body learns that nighttime awakenings are not moments of danger, but opportunities for reset. Prayer and surrender work together to heal both the nervous system and the inner life. What once caused anxiety becomes a source of comfort. The soul feels lighter. The body responds with deeper, more peaceful rest. When emotional wounds remain unaddressed, they do not stay confined to thoughts or memories. They find ways to express themselves through the body. Difficulty sleeping, shallow rest, sudden awakenings, and persistent fatigue are often signs that the inner life is asking for care. The connection between emotional health and physical well-being is well established. Stress, grief, unresolved guilt, and long-held sadness activate the same biological pathways as physical danger. The body responds by staying alert even when rest is needed. This is why healing the soul is not a poetic idea, but a practical necessity for deep and restorative sleep. When inner pain is acknowledged and gently brought into prayer, the body receives permission to relax. Many people underestimate how powerful sincere prayer can be for emotional healing. Speaking honestly, without rehearsed words, allows emotions to move instead of remaining trapped. When emotions move, the nervous system shifts. The brain no longer needs to hold tension as a protective measure. Studies on emotional expression show that naming feelings reduces their intensity. Prayer naturally encourages this process. It creates a safe space to release fear, anger, sadness, or disappointment. As these emotions are released, the body experiences relief, muscles soften, breathing deepens, the mind becomes quieter. This is the beginning of true rest. Healing the soul also involves forgiveness, both toward others and toward oneself. Carrying resentment or self-blame keeps the stress response active long after the original event has passed. At night, when distractions fade, these unresolved emotions surface more clearly. Prayer opens the door to forgiveness by shifting focus from the pain to the possibility of release. Forgiveness does not excuse harm. It frees the body from carrying the weight of it. People who practice forgiveness consistently report better sleep quality, lower anxiety, and improved emotional balance. The body responds to this inner freedom by allowing deeper stages of rest. Breathing plays a crucial role in connecting prayer with physical calm. Slow, intentional breathing sends a direct signal to the brain that the environment is safe. When prayer is paired with deep breathing, its effects multiply. Inhaling slowly fills the lungs and activates calming pathways in the nervous system. Exhaling gently releases tension and reduces heart rate. This rhythm naturally guides the body towards sleep. It is not something that must be forced. The body follows the breath with ease. Research on breathing techniques shows that longer exhalations are especially effective at calming the nervous system. When a person prays while breathing in a steady, relaxed pattern, the mind becomes anchored in the present moment. Thoughts lose their grip. Anxiety fades into the background. The combination of focused prayer and rhythmic breathing creates a powerful state of relaxation that prepares the body for deep rest. This practice also trains the brain over time. Night after night, the body learns that these moments are safe, healing, and restorative. As emotional healing and mindful breathing become part of the nighttime routine, sleep begins to change. Awakenings become less distressing. Falling back asleep becomes easier. The quality of rest improves because the body is no longer guarding against unspoken fears or unresolved emotions. Prayer addresses the inner world. Breathing addresses the physical system. Together, they restore balance. The soul feels lighter, and the body responds with deeper, more peaceful sleep. What happens consistently over time shapes how the mind and body respond at night. When a person repeatedly wakes during the early morning hours with fear or frustration, the brain begins to associate that time with danger or stress. This conditioning makes future awakenings more intense. However, the opposite is also true. When those same moments are met with calm, prayer, and trust, the brain learns a new pattern. The early morning hour becomes a place of restoration instead of anxiety. What once triggered tension slowly transforms into a signal for peace. This change does not happen overnight, but it begins the moment the response shifts from panic to presence. Many people who once dreaded waking at that hour eventually experience it as a sacred pause. Instead of racing thoughts, there is stillness. Instead of fear, there is reassurance. This is because the mind is highly adaptable. Neuroscience confirms that repeated calm responses rewire neural pathways. When prayer replaces worry and breathing replaces tension, the brain stores this new experience. Over time, the stress response weakens and the relaxation response strengthens. The body begins to trust the night again. This trust allows sleep to return more naturally and deeply. Turning early awakenings into moments of restoration also brings emotional growth. These quiet minutes become a space to realign priorities, release burdens, and reconnect with inner peace. Many people discover clarity during these hours that they cannot access during the noise of the day. This clarity is not forced. It arises because the mind is no longer under pressure to perform or respond. Prayer in these moments becomes less about asking and more about resting. This shift deepens emotional resilience and reduces daytime anxiety as well. As this practice continues, the body begins to anticipate calm rather than alertness. Heart rate remains steadier, breathing stays slow, muscles do not tense as quickly. Even when awakenings occur, they are shorter and less disruptive. The nervous system learns that it does not need to sound an alarm. This is how restoration replaces disruption. The night becomes a partner in healing instead of a battlefield. Consistency is what makes this transformation last. Restful sleep is not a single event, but a learned rhythm. Each time a person responds to wakefulness with prayer, calm breathing, and surrender, the brain receives reinforcement. Over days and weeks, this repetition builds a habit of peace. The body recognizes familiar signals and responds more quickly with relaxation. This is how deep rest becomes easier to access and maintain. People who develop this rhythm often notice improvements beyond sleep. Daytime focus improves, emotional reactions soften, energy levels stabilize. This is because quality rest supports every system in the body. When the mind is no longer exhausted from nighttime battles, it has more capacity for patience, joy, and clarity during the day. The benefits extend far beyond the bedroom. Training the body to rest deeply requires gentleness and patience. There may be nights when progress feels slow. That does not mean the practice is failing. Every calm response, even brief, is shaping the nervous system. Over time, the brain learns that rest is safe and available. The soul feels steadier. The body responds with trust. What once felt uncontrollable becomes manageable. The night becomes a place of healing, and sleep becomes a natural expression of inner peace.